How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Fame, and we are back with another FPO video, and today we're going to be taking a look at some wildcard drafts. Those that have had a horrid game week, don't worry, you have a lifesaver in your first wildcard, which can be used all the way up and until including the game weeks at Christmas time. So if you are unfamiliar with FPL, basically you get two wildcards where you could change your team completely for free without taking hits for multiple transfers. You get two of these a season. One is before New Year, one is after the New Year, and you can use them at any time. So if you had a disastrous week, don't worry, take a look at these couple of drafts I've drawn up for you, and you can help improve your next game week and your season going forward. If you haven't done so already, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and turn those notification bells on so that you can get the content as soon as it is readily available. Drop us a follow over on Twitter if you want to keep up to date with all FPL news and all the different content that we're posting, as well as make sure to give us a follow over on Twitch as well so that you can see when we go live for our preview and deadline streams. We'll be doing a deadline stream as per normal this week. It is a Saturday deadline, so I will be up and ready to go 1 hour before the FPL deadline over on Twitch. So without further ado, let's talk about our partners for this season with Fantasy Football Scout. We have partnered up with Fantasy Football Scout for this coming Fantasy Premier League season, and they're giving you an exclusive offer. Use the link down in the description to get 20% off your Fantasy Football Scout membership. It gives you access to the exclusive members area, which has new tools such as the 3-player comparison tool, as well as some old favorites such as the Rate My Team tool, the season ticker, and my personal favorite, the fully customizable stats tables, which you can share among other Fantasy Football Scout members, powered by Opta Stats. Use the link down in the description below to get 20% off your membership today. Sign up now. So the first draft that I have here for you is what I like to call the 3 premium draft. So this is the triple premium in midfield, and this is only because we have some differentials that we can go for that have emerged in game week 1. Now, one of those being Cucho Hernandez up front for Watford. He's also the same price as Dennis, who started the game. Both of them did score. So I would say just kind of pay attention to press conferences and see and make sure you get the right one that's going to be starting. If Dennis is fine, I think he'll start again based on the initial game week 1 lineup. So 5 million as a forward option could be fantastic. As well as down the back line, we've seen that Tsimikas is starting for Liverpool and will probably start this coming game week as well, although that could be short-lived, which is why we've gone with a double up of Webster and Ayling in the back, and they rotate quite nicely. Any Brighton and Leeds defender have a nice fixture rotation from the start of the season, but you'll mainly be using it from probably game week 3 onwards when Tsimikas starts to have more difficult fixtures and could be rotated out of the squad. In goal, we've actually put in Raya, someone who I didn't have on my list initially in terms of goalkeeper selection. I was looking mainly at Sanchez or Bachmann potentially, but Raya obviously shows that he's very good at making saves. He had that one brilliant one down to his right-hand side to his near post from Pepe's volley. And I thought that was a fantastic save, and he just was very comfortable throughout the entire 90 minutes versus Arsenal. And he could be one of those teams where he basically just gets peppered a lot, but will make a lot of save points. So even if they lose 3-0, he's still going to probably end up with 2, maybe 3 points with the amount of saves that he makes. So just one to watch out for. He does come from Barcelona's academy, I believe. He is Spanish, so obviously being brought up with one of the best academies in the world. And yeah, he could be a very, very good goalkeeper at 4.5 million. But again, you can go with any of the other 4.5 million goalkeepers as well. And let's get on to the midfield. So we've gone with Leon Bailey as our 6.5 million midfielder. I just thought he impressed me quite a lot, so I thought I'd put him in the lineup here. And as a note, this is a 99.8 million squad value team. So this is including if you buy Bruno Fernandes at 12.1 million. If you buy Antonio, it's 7.6 million. And if you buy Tsimikas at 4.1 million as well. So we only have 0.2 million in the bank. So we've gone with De Bruyne, Salah, and Fernandes. And basically what that's going to do is just allow us to keep Salah or De Bruyne, whichever one we choose. And we can go with Son in game week 3 and bring the other one back later on, or use use them as a cash cow to get Lukaku or whoever we want, basically, in 2 transfers. And I think De Bruyne could be a good captaincy shout for Norwich. And then if he doesn't do too well or City just still don't look at it, you can drop him down and keep Salah for when he plays Chelsea. And you can bring in Son and captain him for game week 3. It's very easy to go down, not as easy to go up. And then obviously Salah and Fernandes are in there. Just makes the most sense to have both of them in there. No real reason to get rid of them. Ivan Toney, I've seen a lot of managers obviously, potentially looking to get rid of him already. I think that's a bit crazy. He was arguably the best player on the pitch, even though he didn't score in the game versus Arsenal. And I believe they have Crystal Palace next. So I think that is he's still good value. I don't personally have him in my FPL team. I have Wilson, Ings, and Antonio. But if one of those 3 were to get injured or not really look too sharp, I could always downgrade to Toney as well. And then Antonio, he could be any 7.5 million striker quite easily as well. And yeah, I think this team could be quite solid. I don't see a lot of drafts potentially that started initially with this, mainly due to the fact that we didn't know, like Hover as an example, was going to be a 4 million option. Initially, we thought, oh yeah, he's playing preseason, but is he actually going to start? It does look likely. We didn't know who Watford's up front man was going to be, the guy playing the number 9 role. It turns out it's going to be a 5 million player, most likely, because Deeney is, someone who had a lot of injuries in the championship last season. So I think you can definitely get away with this draft, and it could do quite well. You're able to obviously cover the 3 big teams, as it were, when it comes to captaincy options with City, United, and Liverpool. Chelsea would be the only other one, but again, when Chelsea's fixtures get really good, Man United's fixtures get bad. So you can always trade Fernandes out for Lukaku. You get an extra 0.5 million. And then you can bring in someone like a Smith Rowe or an Mbeumo or somebody like that who could be a cheaper midfield option that you could play week in, week out. And if you have enough funds, you can even go to a 6 million mid. So you can go with Ismail Assar. You can go with maybe Jack Harrison at Leeds as well, because their fixtures get good around Game Week 5. So there are many things that you can do with this draft after you've initially wildcarded to it in Game Week 2. Now, with that being said, let's take a look at a different draft that goes for more of a focus on a premium striker that just signed for Chelsea and could be good value even at his high price point come Game Week 2 onwards. Now, dubbed the Lukaku Draft, this is the one where we've put Lukaku straight into the mix. The squad value is 99.3 million, so you still have 0.7 million left to play with if you were to buy the players Tsimikas, Fernandes, and Richarlison all at their current value, which is 0.1 more than their initial price point. So we do have some money in the bank that we can utilize and spend elsewhere. But like I said, there's been emerging players in positions which allow us to get some value. So one of them in this team is Ismail Assar, as we mentioned in the previous draft. 6 million, scored on the opening day as well, and has been someone who has been just really, really good when he's played. He's often very exciting, very much the talisman. Kind of, if you get it to Sarr, he can do something with it. He's been linked to Manchester United, linked with the likes of Liverpool as well. And I think he could be good value through the entire season after a starting point of just, £6 million, I think is fantastic value. He's also on penalties as well. I'm not sure if I mentioned that, but he is on penalties as well. And it just seems like if Watford play well, he's going to play well. And talisman players we like in FPL because we can kind of funnel the amount of, kind of detail into what a team's going to do. So if I say, oh, your notification went off and Watford scored, who's most likely to be involved in it? Probably Sarr. With Man United, it's probably Bruno Fernandes. With Liverpool, it's probably one of the front 3 in Salah, Mane, Firmino. There's those teams we like quite a lot. It's the Man Cities and the Chelseas that are a little bit more difficult to kind of tunnel on. But with Lukaku in the team, that could all change. So let's talk about him. He came in at 11.5 million. I thought he would come in at the same price as Jamie Vardy at 10.5 million. But they've made sure that you really, really can't have very many premiums in your team without sacrificing elsewhere. Now, I think he could be very good in Game Week 2. He's versus an Arsenal team that's just come off a pretty poor result versus Brentford on the opening day. Now, maybe that changes with the fans back in the ground. I don't think so, personally. Lukaku is going to be the focal point. I think he's going to play pretty much every game for Chelsea, and it's just going to be up to those other 2 spots in behind him in the 4-2-3 or the the 3-4-2-1 system that Tuchel often plays. I think Timo Werner will probably be the best suited on the left of those of the front two, with Lukaku at the spearhead. And on the right, they may go with a more creative player, a little bit more guile in their game, like a Mason Mount or like a Kai Havertz. I think Werner will definitely improve as well. And now that he has somebody like his equivalent of Poulsen from RB Leipzig, who he can feed off of. Now, will that make his finishing better? No, he's still got to put the ball in the back of the net. But I think Lukaku will be the one that all the onus will be on him to go outscore the 20-25 goals in the Premier League season. And his price tag definitely warrants that. Close to £98 million Chelsea have paid for him. If Jack Grealish hadn't been bought before him, he would have broke the British transfer record. So I think Lukaku has big shoes to fill, but I have no doubt that he will do quite well. The amount of chances that Chelsea create is unfathomable, with Reece James, Chilwell, Mount, Havertz, the list goes on with the amount of players that can give him the ball. All they just need is somebody to get in the box and put it in the net. Lukaku is very good at doing that. So I think even from game week 2 onwards, he could be quite good. Chelsea and City are very similar in that I think they're kind of fixture proof in a sense. I'm personally going to lay off Lukaku until I've seen a good sample size of him, all the way up until game week 7, where Chelsea's fixtures get really good, and that's where Lukaku really excels as well. He is known in the Premier League, when he did play, as a flat track bully, and basically what that means is any team that's not great or in like the bottom half of the table, he scores goals versus them. And they have a run of fixtures, about 6 games, where Chelsea just are going to play teams that are just way lower than them, and it's those type of games that you want to just keep getting the wins by large margins to help your goal difference, and also keep pressure on the other teams when they're playing more difficult teams later on in the season, like United. So Chelsea will be having a whole bunch of easy games, which they could all be winning. United could be playing a whole bunch of difficult games, and they could be losing them all. So that would mean Chelsea would make up some ground. Also, moving on to the other forwards as well, we have Tony in there just because he's a budget option, but also Richarlison as well. Someone who I think has been overlooked slightly. I think I overlooked him as well. He's currently gone up in price to 7.6 million. I think he's got a goal and an assist in the opening game as well, and I think he just looks to be just at his sharpest. I think, getting a gold medal in the Olympics was definitely good for him, and good for Brazil, and good for his confidence as well. And I think he's just the type of player that, when he's not just kind of rolling around on the floor and trying to, play the acting game, I think if he just puts his head down and does what he has to do, he's super talented. He can score goals. He can beat any man in front of him. He gets in and around the box. He's also a decent aerial threat too. So if he just breaks his nose to get goals, as it were, the like an old saying, just get yourself in the box, get yourself in the position, take risks. He will score a lot of goals this season. I think for 7.5 million initial starting price, he could be a bargain as well. And then lastly, Mbeumo, 5.5 million. I thought he was excellent as well for Brentford. Someone who's basically playing second striker in a midfield slot at 5.5 million. He could be very good to open up some avenues for not only more points, but more value elsewhere to be put into an extra premium or that sort of thing. Like this draft wouldn't be possible if we didn't know how good Mbeumo was going to be, or like the previous draft, we didn't know how good like the Watford striker, how cheap their forward price was going to be. It's very easy now to get 3 premiums in there of the premium price, like 11.5, 12, 12.5. Son is kind of like a premium, but I would say like the 3, like close to 12 million price point players, you could definitely get 3 of them in them now as well. And then also with the defense, we have Cody in there as well, because we know that Wolves fixtures get good later on as well. And then lastly, just the 4.5 and 4.0 goalkeepers. Again, those can be anyone. I've just put Bachmann in there and Foster just because I wanted to change up the flavor a little bit. But now that we've seen those 2 drafts, let's see how we can take one of the drafts and tinker with it and show what kind of transfers we can do to help ourselves later on and get ourselves set up, and so that we don't get into a mess, basically, as we have done in game week 1, and we can continue with this draft knowing that we don't have a wild card in our back pocket, and help secure ourselves some good game weeks in the future. So this is the first draft that we had up on the screen. So we're gonna take you through what we could potentially do with it to switch things out. So if we're taking a look at what the fixtures are like for the three premiums, because that's kind of really what the draft's all about, in a sense. I think this one, it could be quite good. Also, you notice that some of the teams have the new FPL pictures in there. De Bruyne looking quite sporty with his new Man City jersey on. But if you think that, if Norwich is the one that you're looking for Man City players, which a lot of managers are with the likes of Mahrez and Torres and Gundogan in their team, that's kind of the fixture you want. And then you kind of base it off later as well. Salah also got his new jersey as well and a new picture. And Salah's also got Burnley at home in game week 2. So again, you have a plethora of, of fixtures to choose from in terms of captaincy. Bruno Fernandes also got his new jersey on. Southampton away. They could all be very, very good fixtures. But if you look at the likes of De Bruyne's ones, his fixtures kind of teeter off a little bit. Arsenal at home should be good, should be easy, to be honest. It shouldn't be a 3, it should be a 2 in my opinion, in FDR rating. And then Leicester away could be difficult, but Southampton at home. So if you think 3 out of the next 4 should be quite good. Whereas Salah, as an example, he has Chelsea at home and Leeds away. Now, Chelsea are very stingy at the back, and they're not going to give away many goals. And Leeds away could also be quite difficult as well. With the home fans, we'll have yet to see what they've done at home, but we'll be able to see that this week coming up. I believe they play Everton at home. They do, at Ellen Road. So if Leeds come away with a nice 2-0 performance at home, just convincing, versus Everton don't concede any chances, and they really, really tighten up at the back, and maybe, that could come back with, Calvin Phillips coming back in the team. Not sure how far Llorente is off. I think he could be back for game week 3, so we'll have to see kind of how that one pans out. But if Leeds look very good defensively, I think there's definitely an option for Salah out immediately in game week 3. And then what that allows you to do is bring in the red-hot Heung-min Son. Now, another thing to also note is that game week 4, in between game week 3 and game week 4, there is an international break. And now there are players that, if they are from South America, I believe Africa, and I believe one other part of the world, basically, they could be quarantining and may have to miss out on game week 4 and even possibly game week 5. So players that includes would be, Mo Salah, Sadio Mane, Edinson Cavani. These sorts of players could be prone to being a rotation risk because of the fact that they aren't allowed to play due to government law. And that could be a bit of an issue. So that's why in my own team, I've kind of taken Salah out, or will be taking him out in game week 3 for these 2 fixtures. So he'll be back by the Crystal Palace fixture, hopefully. And then when he plays Brentford as well. And then maybe something similar could happen where we take him out just for 1 week in game week 7 on the wild card, and then have a way to bring him back in for game week 8, because there's also another international break there. So whether the rules are going to be the same then, I don't know. But all I do know is that Son's fixtures from game week 3 and 4 are fantastic. If you already have him in your team, that's great too. But I think Son, he's probably the best captaincy option. Watford at home, game week 3. Game week 4, Crystal Palace away is good. But I think Fernandes at home to Newcastle could be excellent as well. And then De Bruyne in game week 5, Southampton at home. That could be a fantastic fixture, because Fernandes has West Ham away. If you are bringing Salah back in, he also has the option of Crystal Palace at home as well. So there are options that you could do there. So with you being able to downgrade Son in game week 4, if you knew that, hey, look, I'm going to be bringing Salah back in, almost certainly, what you could do is in game week 4, just save a transfer. And then in game week 5, you could bring Salah back in for Son if you wanted to. And then you potentially may have gotten some value out of Son, or maybe the likes of Tsimikas has gone up twice by this time. And Robertson's finally come back in game week 4. But Tsimikas hasn't gone down because people aren't really getting rid of him because they've just kept him in their team and they're using their other defenders on the bench. Then you can maybe get Tsimikas because we still have 0.5 million. You would need to get a little bit of value because this team has Fernandes and Antonio in it. So realistically, we only have 0.3 when you think about it. 0.2 rather. Because of Tsimikas. But if you gain some, value on Son, you gain some value on Tsimikas, or maybe a defender drops down slightly, but they're still involved, it could be worthwhile. Maybe you could even take a hit as well. I mean, there's also the option, Leon Bailey playing for Aston Villa, game week 4. You could see that Aston Villa is struggling against the big teams. You can get rid of Leon Bailey. You can bring in the likes of Harrison, who has great fixtures from Game Week 5 onwards. And then you could just take a -4 if you really wanted to for another defender. So if you wanted to make sure that you had a definite Wolves defender in there, you could go for the likes of Cody. You can even double up on the Leeds defense as well. I believe Ben White as well has good fixtures for Arsenal during Game Week 4 onwards as well. At least for the longer term even as well. I mean, Norwich at home, Burnley away. I mean, Arsenal should be getting clean sheets in those games, but we said that about Brentford too, but it didn't work out that way. But alternatively, if you were looking for like Lukaku as an example, you would basically, what you would do is going into game week 6 after that. So let's say this is your team after game week 5. Again, you just bank a transfer. And then what you do is you get rid of Fernandez, because Fernandez's fixtures from game week 7 onwards, he has Everton, Leicester, Liverpool, Spurs, Man City. That's brutal. But if you look at the likes of Lukaku's fixtures for Chelsea, he's very, very, very likely to do quite well in these fixtures. I mean, look at this. Southampton, Brentford, Norwich, Newcastle, Burnley. It doesn't get much better than that. And especially for someone like Lukaku, he could be doing some serious damage. So you get rid of Lukaku and you could just bring in another 6 million or 5.5 million, 5.5 million midfielder. Brentford's fixtures, unfortunately, aren't as good during this time. So Tony would be not as good of an asset. So we may need to look at changes there. Like we said, we could have Jack Harrison. Sarr as well could still be okay. I mean, his fixtures are a bit of a mixed bag. Leeds away, Liverpool at home, Everton away, Southampton home. Still okay in that time. Not ideal for a promoted club, but still could be somewhat serviceable, as it were. If we take a look at the other midfielders here. Just going to bring up just the 6 million or less. I mean, Ben Rama is someone like from game week, if you're or you're looking to transfer for game week 7 onwards. Again, his aren't terrible either, and he starts off with Brentford as well. Even like the Everton midfielders could be good. I know they have Man United away, but then they have, West Ham, Watford, Wolves is a little decent little spell, but then they have Spurs and Man City. So there's not really many midfielders out there from what I can tell that are going to be okay. Newcastle's fixtures, I believe, are decent during that time too. But again, what midfielder are you really going to get? It's the forwards that you really want, the St. Maximins and the Wilsons of this world, as it were. Steven Bergwijn, he impressed me, but the only problem is that he has a little bit of a problem scoring in front of goal. He would be good in the short term. Arsenal, Aston Villa, Newcastle if he's starting. Yeah, there's many different options you go for. You can even go for Dallas if he's playing in midfield. Now, he was starting in at left back, but these fixtures could be fantastic if you could get Dallas in a very attacking position. We would already have Harrison, and we'd have Ayling as well. So that is ways that you can basically kind of work around that. And then also, what are we going to do with Harry Kane as well? Kane could be going down in price tonight. That's still estimated. Who's he going to be even playing for? Like, is he going to be playing for Spurs or is he going to be playing for City? If he's playing for City, what game week is he going to come in by? Well, you would think if he comes in just before the end of the transfer window, he'll be coming back playing Leicester, Southampton, Chelsea, Liverpool, Burnley, Brighton, Crystal Palace. Those would be the ones that he'd be playing up next. But mainly that Southampton fixture would be the one that you would kind of look for. And then it would become a straight shootout. Well, I definitely want Lukaku from game week 7 onwards. So maybe I use Kane potentially as a placeholder. Where's Harry Kane? I'm in the midfielders, that's why. Harry Kane in there. You'd still need to get 1 million someplace else, but again, you could drop down to Smith Rowe would be good for these set of fixtures, and Buemo would still be okay from game week 4 to game week 5 as well. And yeah, you could do a bunch of different things with this sort of team. It just requires transfers. That's the only thing. Saving a transfer is probably the key thing with this one. If you don't save a transfer, you're looking at points hits. Now, there were obviously some places where points hits are obviously recommended, but if you wildcard early on, I think it could be, out of the two drafts, I would personally go with the premium forward up front, because if worst case scenario, let's say Lukaku isn't very good and Kane does go to City and he is looking good, then you can just go straight to Kane if you need to, and then get Lukaku back later when his fixtures are a lot better from game week 7 onwards, and he's going to be playing against much weaker opposition. But yeah, that's how you can transform the draft. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you are on a wild card, what decisions you're looking to be making. If you had a bad game week, it's just one game week. It's a marathon, not a sprint. If you had a poor score, you can always rectify it. That's why the wild card is there. I would say if you're looking to potentially take a -4 or -8, it depends on the situation, but I think it could be definitely warranted. I did a -8 last season in game week 2, and I brought in James Rodriguez and Calvert-Lewin, and they absolutely smashed the place up. So they did really well for me. So hits can definitely pay off. It's just a matter of when you want to take them. Obviously, with the small sample size, it can be a bit tricky. But I think with the wild card, I think you can pick fixtures that you like. You can see what players have done well, and you can give yourself an array of options, especially with the 2 drafts that I've drawn up for you. But yeah, let me know what you think down in the comments below, and any questions you have, make sure to leave them down there as well. And yeah, that's it for the wildcard drafts for this week. And that's going to do it for our Wildcard Drafts Game Week 2 edition video. If you haven't done so already, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and turn those notification bells on so that you can get the content as soon as it is readily available. Drop us a follow over on Twitter if you want to keep up to date with all transfer news, as well as any other FPL news. I've been retweeting a lot of that over on Twitter, as well as any price changes. We've been very interested in those as well. I currently gained 0.1 in value on 3 separate players: Antonio Simicast and Bruno Fernandes, so hopefully getting some more as well. And give us a follow over on Twitch if you want to join us for our live streams, for our preview and deadline live streams. We'll be doing a deadline stream as per usual with the Saturday schedule back underway for game week 2, and we'll be live 1 hour before the deadline, which is I think 2.5 hours before actual kickoff as well. And lastly, use the link down in the description below so you can get your discount. It's still available all the way up until Sunday. 20% off your Fantasy Football Scout membership. It's a fantastic tool to help elevate your FPL game. Thank you all for watching, and until the next one, take care.